Okay, welcome. We are back with another Ask Me Anything coming live from, well, I am live in New York City, but we have folks streaming in from around the world. So if you are tuning in now, we are streaming on Restream, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We're live on several platforms. If there are any other platforms that you would like us to stream on in the future, please let us know. Now that the stream is live, I'm going to give folks a few minutes to trickle in. And then from there, we are going to jump right in to the questions. And as a reminder, this time is yours, meaning I will prioritize questions that come in live via chat. If you're on YouTube, you can comment in the live chat there. If you're watching on Twitter, feel free to just respond or reply to the tweet, which came from the Doola HQ Twitter account. And I guess if you're not on Twitter or on YouTube and you're on Restream and you have a specific question, you could email us if you'd like. We'll keep an eye on that. It's hello@doola.com. Or you could WhatsApp us as well. So I'm going to just pause here, give folks a few minutes to trickle in, and then we will get started as soon as questions start popping up in the YouTube live chat. Let's jump right in. We got a question rolling in. We're going to get started. Again, for those tuning in, I'm prioritizing questions that come in live. If there aren't any questions coming in live, sounds like everyone's an expert, which is okay. I know people do a ton of prep here, but we're going to start with a question from Sahil. Sahil, where are you, if you could message in, where are you watching from today too? I think it's always super cool to see, but let's get started with the first question. And by the way, I'm in Doula's HQ in New York City. First question from Sahil. I wanted to ask about the benefits of registering. Is there a minimum business required for the same? Fantastic question. And to start, what I'll start by doing, and it looks like Sahil, you were based in India. Oh, we have Nigeria as well. Wow, so this really is global. Let's start with the first question, which is, what are the benefits of registering a U.S. business or company? There's several. Now, each business is unique, but there are a few top reasons we see. The first is global. I was trying to answer in one word there. The first answer is global. If you have a U.S. business, you really have a global business. And there's a few reasons for that. One, with a U.S. business, you can now sell to U.S. customers, which is one of the most lucrative customer segments in the world. Number two, with a U.S. entity, you get access to U.S. banking and U.S. payments, which means you can then accept payments and sell globally in the U.S. dollar. So even if you are selling to U.S. customers who prefer or even sometimes require payments in U.S. dollars, customers globally also trust and would like to spend money in the US dollar too. So it's a globally accepted currency. The third biggest reason here, and all three of these apply, is the trust and social proof which comes from having a US company. Specifically, if you have a US company versus being a freelancer or an individual, people don't view you as, a freelancer or some country or some company that's just based in some random country. You have an actual business, a limited liability company or a C-Corp or a DAO LLC. And people take that seriously, even if you're one person forming the entity. Instead of saying, hey, my name is Arjun and I'm going to be designing your website for you or building the software for you. Instead, it's going to be Doola LLC or Doola C-Corp is doing business with you. Whether you're signing contracts or whether you're selling to customers or even just something small, such as having the name of your website on the footer of your landing page. That social proof means a lot. So those are the top benefits. And I would say the biggest thing is you can go from formation to first payment via US dollar very fast with doola. So those are the top benefits. If you have any specific questions on any of those, I'm happy to dive in. And I'll answer the second part of the question, which is there a minimum business required to register a US business? If I understand, and Sahil, let me know if I'm interpreting this correctly. Number one is that you do not need to have a business in your country outside the US, in this case, India, to form a US business. You can. So let's say you had a company in India. When you're forming your US LLC, you could decide to have the member or owner of the LLC be that company, which means you have the US company and then the Indian company effectively owns it. You could also just have the individual do it. So let's say I was in India, I could then form the company and say, hey, I am the owner. So I would be the owner of the LLC. Both work. We've seen customers do both, and that applies for any country. The second part of the question is that, is a minimum business required? No, you do not need to have a business. You can start from scratch. You could have an idea on a napkin or an idea on Apple Notes or whatever note-taking tool is coming out tomorrow. I feel like these tools come out all the time. Point being said, you can start from absolute scratch and start your business in the US from day zero. And that's actually most of the folks that we work with. They have an idea or they're looking to expand and start right away. You can do that from scratch, or we do work with many customers who have a booming, thriving business internationally. And they want to, exactly as you said, Sahil, they want a US wing or a US branch or a US presence. And that presence could be, again, to sell to US customers, or it could be just to have a presence for your global customer base that, hey, again, this is a legitimate company. We have a US base. We are a global company, and our global hub will be in America, or we'll have, two headquarters. We have a headquarter in US and we have a headquarter in India, United Kingdom, Nigeria, wherever it might be. I will pause there. I hope that was helpful. Neil or Sahil or anyone else listening, I'm happy to dive into specifics, or again, happy to answer any other questions. I will keep an eye out again on email. So if you would like to send an email to hello@doola.com, or feel free to respond on Twitter and can take questions from there as well. Okay, great question from Neil. Neil's calling in or watching in from Nigeria. This is a question we get a lot. And specifically, the question is, if I have a business, but my employees, and I'll extend this, let's say my employees and my business is digital, it's online. What will the taxes be like for me? So taxes is a big question, and it's a very great question to ask because it shows me that you, Neil, and everyone watching, you want to understand and have a solution for everything. Not just forming your company, but how am I going to keep it compliant? How am I going to ensure that I stay compliant with the state and the IRS in the United States and in the country I'm in too? Caveat, which I have to make, which I hope everyone understands, I'm not a CPA, a certified professional accountant, and I'm also not a lawyer. So this is not official tax advice or legal advice. But we've worked with thousands of customers globally, so I'm going to share what we've seen in this generic situation. But the good thing is with Doola, every one of our customers, you get as many tax consultations as you need. Meaning you could have one the second you start with us, do another one 6 months later, and then maybe a question pops up and you need to chat with someone. Or you never need to do this tax consultation. It's up to you. But that's one of the benefits we have and benefits customers have of working with Doola. Okay, preface there. Now to answer the question. If you have a purely online business, so it's online, could be software, it could be a service, and you have no physical presence in the US. So the keyword here is physical. Think you are not physically in the US. No physical employees, no physical warehouse, no physical office. What else am I missing? Anything physical. If there's nothing physical about your business in the US, then you don't have what's called effectively connected income or US source-based income. And again, this is me giving that general circumstance of an online business with no physical presence in the US, which means you then have an IRS informational tax filing to make, but you would pay taxes in the country you live in. So your income taxes, revenue you make, money you wire back, pay as income. You would then pay tax in your home country there. In the US, you have an informational filing you would make with the IRS. And Doola, through professional CPAs, can handle that filing. A follow-up question we have here is, if you have a US presence, or you would like to have a US presence, the company is registered in India, what does that mean from a visa/conference perspective? First thing I'll say here is, again, if you would like to have a US presence, again, the key thing to keep in mind when it comes to taxes is it a physical presence or not? Meaning, are you there, a warehouse not being a third-party warehouse, your warehouse, a physical office? If so, then you might have what's called effectively connected income or US source-based income. Now, and that would just impact the tax filing, which is done at the end of the year. And I'm going to send a guide here for folks who want to really dive into specifically what filings are required. This post walks through each case, what filings are required, and how doola can help with those filings. To answer the other question, what does that mean from a visa and conference perspective? At doola, we do not yet, I'll say, help deal with visas or immigration, but we want to provide a solution. So Sahil and anyone listening, if you have a visa question, our partner LegalPad can help. They do free consultations. You can ask them specifically about your situation. What I will say, though, is that a company on its own won't drastically change, from my understanding, your visa perspectives. Now, it depends on the type of visa, but let me put it this way. By forming an LLC, you don't automatically get a US visa. So that's the way I would answer that question. But I would say our partner LegalPad is the best person to chat with for any of those visa-related questions. Coming back to, we have another question here. What exactly is doola and how can I work with you? I'll answer that in two goes. The first thing is, in terms of what exactly doola is, I am going to pop in this here. So I'm going to write out an answer and I'll explain it too. So first thing is, doola is what we like to say, or customers like to say, the sort of one-stop shop. And the first thing we do is we help you form a company in the United States. It doesn't stop there, though. We don't just form companies. We help with all of the ongoing compliance. So you can see here a bank account, a payment gateway, state compliance, IRS tax filings. Our goal is to be with you from start until, well, as long as your business is running. And the only way we can do that is by helping you not only accept payments, but stay compliant through the state and the IRS so your business can continue to run. How do you work with us? Very simple. So on our website, you'll see, you can just go to doola.com. There's a get started button. All of the information, we've timed this, it can be done in less than 10 minutes. So in 10 minutes, we get your information. We do filings every day with the state. And the timeline is about 1 week on average to get your company. If it comes faster, you will be the first to know. It's the state, though. We are dependent on their process, but that's the typical timeline. Follow-up question here. If all my business is done except the employee aspect, but I still need to file taxes in my home country, you have to pay income tax in the place you live. So if you're generating income and sending it back to your country and paying yourself, that income is going to be in the country you're living in. If it's, again, US source-based income, meaning via physical presence, then you would pay taxes there. So again, not a tax expert, but the way I'm reading this question is that anytime you are living in a country and you're paying yourself in that country, you have to pay to your country the income tax there specifically. If the money is just going to sit in the bank account and you haven't paid yourself, then obviously there wouldn't be a tax to be paid there, unless we're talking about potentially a capital gains tax or something else. But the way I'm reading your question here, Neil, is that if you are based in, a country, in this case Nigeria, and you're paying yourself or generating income in that country, so the money is being wired back and you're paying yourself, you will have to pay taxes. There's no way to get around taxes. We don't advise that. We do not help people get around taxes. What we do is make sure you compliantly do all of the filings required. So we handle the US side of things. In the country you live in, obviously, we would want to make sure you stay completely up to date and complete all of the required filings on your side, quote unquote, there. Of course. Great question here. Another question, does incorporating a C-Corp make investments easier? And this is a great question we get, and a very common one, which is, should I create an LLC or should I create a C-Corp? I'm going to answer that right here, and I'll give a definitive answer to you. I'm not going to say it depends. Or I'll start by saying it depends, but I'm then going to give you an actual recommendation. What it comes down to is this. If you are looking to raise US venture capital, meaning you want a US institutional or angel investor to invest in you, they will require a Delaware C-Corp. So if that's the case, and I'm going to send that right here, form a C-Corp. It's simple. However, if you are not, an LLC is a much easier choice. It's much simpler, easier to maintain, and long-term can be cheaper too. There's a lot more tax flexibility as well. At the end of the day, it's your business, your choice. But what we recommend, again, is think of it this way. If you're raising US venture capital, form a C-Corp. Or I guess backwards C, whatever way it is. If you are not raising US venture capital, form an LLC. And then if you need a DAO LLC, that's separate. But that's how I would explain C-Corp versus LLC. So regarding making investments easier, if someone's looking to invest in you, depending on where they're investing from, international investors, they might be okay with an LLC, but a US institutional or angel investor will require a Delaware C-Corp. Another question from Zahil, is there strategic support along with all the filing support to help start the business? Absolutely. We take great pride on this. I'm going to do two things. You can take my word for it, but you can actually just click into our Trustpilot page here and you'll see just from scrolling through. We take pride in not just forming the company and doing the paperwork, which is important. We 100% accurately, that's critical, but with being with you post-formation. So strategic questions, we get these all the time. Hey, I need to get a patent or a trademark. Do you have someone who can help? We do. We have a partner we could send you to. Or, hey, when it does come time to getting my bank account, is it possible to get US credit? Actually, there's a credit building program through one of our partners. We can introduce you. Or maybe, hey, I need specific advice on drafting a contract. Do you have a lawyer you could intro me to? For sure. So our goal is, again, you don't just start with us and then we give you a checklist of things to do. We want to handle it for you. And then after that too, even if we cannot do it in-house, right? I'm not a lawyer. We want to be able to answer your questions. So example here, we cannot answer or we are not visa or immigration experts. LegalPad is, we will connect you there. And if there's a partner or a gap we have, we're going to work our hardest to fill that gap so that we can answer your question as well. So again, Sahil or anyone else listening, our goal is, again, you start with us, we'll get the formation compliantly done. We'll then get your tax number from the state, help you get your bank account and payments, and then the ongoing compliance, the state filings and the IRS filings. And our goal is to be with you for the long term as you grow your business, or if you're expanding to the US, you establish your US presence and your US wing. Let me pause there, give folks a chance to digest that. I know you might be flicking through some of these pages. I'm also going to take a quick peek and see if we're getting anything else from some other channels. Okay, looks like a question popping up is, I did mention, really quickly, I did mention this thing at DAO LLC. If folks are curious, and it looks like we had a question on that, the best way to learn more about what a DAO is, this is a decentralized autonomous organization, but I'm going to post the guide here. We would probably have to do it. Maybe we should, actually, that's an idea. Do a separate webinar just on DAOs. Actually, I like that idea. So maybe we will do that. But for now, I'm going to post this blog post here in YouTube and folks can just check that out on their own time. Okay, we have a couple more questions here. Question from Neil. If I plan to have a liquidation event within the next 5 to 10 years, would an LLC still be recommended or a C-Corp? Again, the way I would describe here is, think of it as like a decision tree. If the investor is requiring the C-Corp, you have to. If the liquidation is just an exit event, then technically that shouldn't matter as the entity. Now, again, I'm answering this generally. I don't have a specific context here. But based on what I'm seeing here, again, for non-US residents, if you're not looking to actively raise US venture capital right now, and by the way, if that changes, you could either convert your LLC to a C-Corp, you could even elect to have your LLC taxed as a C-Corp, or you could shut it down and form a C-Corp. So you have flexibility here. You're not deciding forever that that is the path you're going to go down. Based on this, it still sounds like in your situation, LLC would be best. Okay, another question here. So yes, the question here is, there's an annual commitment of just under 2,000. With how much appetite needs to be built for service company, how much appetite needs to be built. Okay, if you could clarify the question here, but what I would say is to understand the yearly P&L here. So yes, Sahil, if you could just clarify, but my understanding here is, hey, what are the commitments with doula, and how much needs to be built. That might be on your side or on our side, but we have an annual plan and we have a monthly plan. Annual plan, you save close to $400 and it's just under 2,000, and it includes everything I've said, not just formation but full compliance, state filings and IRS filings. We also have a monthly plan, so that's $199 a month, and the reason we do that is to help folks manage cash flow or manage P&L. The other great thing is, let's say you want to start with the monthly plan, you can absolutely upgrade to annual, and we will only charge you the difference, so you get the savings. So for a lot of folks, it's easier when they're starting to go monthly, get the business set up, growth starts to accelerate, fantastic. Boom, you can switch to annual and save about $400 there. So in that case, we didn't want the annual plan to be a blocker for working with folks, which is why we offer a monthly payment plan as well. I see. So thank you for clarifying here. The question was around maybe what is the typical investment required to start a business? From scratch, this is a great question. So let's think. What Doola is going to take care of is take your US entity. That should be set and forget for you, meaning the formation, bank account setup, payments, state filings, IRS filings. Doola just handles that. So now the other costs we're talking about, and let's say you do the annual plan, so 2,000 or $199 a month, I did plan. What other costs are there? With doula, the only other cost, it's not to doula, it's to the state. So there's a state formation fee, which goes directly to the state at the beginning. And at the end of the year, there's a state fee, which goes to the state. So let's take Wyoming as an example. At the beginning, there's a one-time $100 fee that goes to Wyoming. And then end of year, a one-time $60 fee. Only other costs on the US side. In terms of other costs required, nothing else is required to doula to get support. I mean, that's what you get by working with us, ongoing, as long as you work with us. In terms of other costs on your business, that's where it depends, right? I'll use an example here. If you are a very capital intensive business, manufacturing, I don't know, if you're producing cars, there's going to be a heavy upfront investment. If you're a pure software business, or maybe a services business where you have a landing page, a website, a place where people can enter their email and then you call them, there's not going to be much cost there. The biggest cost there would be, right, the opportunity cost of your time. So that I would need to know more on your business to provide an estimate there. But yeah, to answer the question there, doula will handle the US side of things. The only other cost is that one-time state fee at the beginning and at the end to the state. So I'll actually just post the fees right here in Wyoming. And on our website, you can actually click and toggle. Wyoming is the recommended state for non-US residents because it's cheaper, and the first LLC was formed there. So some folks call it the Swiss Alps of the Rockies. But in Wyoming, $100 formation fee to state. And then end of year, it's a $60 annual report fee to the state. So again, that goes directly to the state. Doula will handle the filings for you in both cases. If you wanted Delaware, and in Delaware, it would be $90 formation fee to state. It's a $300 franchise fee to the state. So that's another big reason why folks choose Wyoming. You are correct though, Sahil. If you want a Delaware C-Corp, you have to go with Delaware. So do not let the price there of the state fee determine the structure you should make for your business. You have to do the proper structure. So you're totally right. Again, if you need a Delaware C-Corp or want one, that is the cost there. Great question here. You know what, Neil, let's do this. If you work with doula, Neil, and I guess Sahil, you've been pretty active here too. If either of you work with doula, personally send me an email at it's arjun@doula.com, and we will send you a sweater. Just let me know what size sweater you'd like. So yeah, we'll do that right now. Both of you, if you work with doula, shoot me your email. We'll send you a sweater. We have a white sweater like this. We also have black sweaters too. So black with a little yellow logo, but I'm a big fan of the white sweaters here. So you have my word there. Again, my email is, I'll actually just jot it in here, arjun@doola.com. Shoot me an email there. Again, if you work with us, send me the size. You let me know your address. We'll ship you out a sweater. Cool. So here's what we'll do. I know there's some folks tuning in or watching, but look, it sounds like we've actually hit. These are some great questions. We've hit the bulk of questions here. So the final thing I'm going to run through with folks, and then I can give the time back to everyone. Maybe you're actually just eager to get started, and I want to run through the process with everyone because the process is critical to understanding why when you start is actually incredibly important. So if you give me a sec here, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to walk through with everyone Doola's simple 5-step process. So give me one sec here. Here we go. Okay. So step 1 of the process is forming your company. We don't need any documents here. There's just a form we need on our website. So you click this red Get Started button. We need info on your company, info to contact you. So your address. This does not go in the state filing, by the way. It's just for our records, and your email. This takes about a week on average. So let's say today we get your information and payment and we start. By next Monday, we should have your LLC or C-Corp. And this depends again on the state. So it's why I say on average a week. So again, Monday today, let's say by next Monday, the formation comes in. Step 2 is getting your EIN, your employer identification number. If you have a US Social Security number, we can get it within a week. Why? Because you can apply online. Usually you get it within a day, but sometimes the machine or the website glitches. Without a Social Security number, it takes 2 to 6 weeks on average. This is because the IRS requires you to fax a form to them. So again, we are fully dependent on the IRS here, but it's important for everyone listening. You do not need to have a social to form the company or to get a bank account. We can get one without one. The other thing is you need to do it in this order. You have got to form the company first and then apply for the EIN. Let's say it takes 4 weeks. Let's split the difference. Thankfully, we've seen them come faster, but let's say it takes 4 weeks. Optimistically, it could take 1 or 2, but I don't want to mislead anyone. Let's say 4 weeks. Next up is the bank account. So we have a partner bank. They work with non-US residents. You'll be able to apply directly through our partner portal. This can take a week or 2. Typically, it's on the faster side if the bank doesn't have follow-up questions. They need your passport here. Why? Because they need to identify that you're a real person and you have a real company. Obviously, we take care of the real company part and the real tax ID part. Final step is your payment processor. Super simple, stripe.com. Set it up with all the information we've given. And then from there, again, there was a question earlier around like the ongoing support. We take care of the state filings and the IRS filings. So now to summarize, if folks were doing the math here, even if you were to start today, the entire process could take 1 week plus, let's say 4 weeks. That's 5 weeks. And then another week, which is 6 weeks. Now, again, it could go faster, but it could go slower, which is why. If launching your US business to accept US payments globally in the US dollar, to establish that global brand, to establish your business globally with a presence in the US is a top priority. The best time to start, and I say this as a joke, but it's true, was 6 weeks ago, because then today you would have had everything set up. So that's the biggest thing, which we like to be crystal clear with folks around, is the timeline takes time. Meaning, if this is a top priority, and obviously do your research, this is why folks are listening in today, it's why you're reading the content, awesome stuff. But when you are ready to go, it's very important that we get your filing into the state as soon as possible so that that timeline starts. So that even if there are delays from the IRS or from the state, we are still able to get that bank account and payment processor set up so that you can start accepting payments. And I will also, in the YouTube stream chat, I'm going to drop a link to our process page. That was the page I was just sharing earlier. Okay, well, Here's what we're gonna do. It looks like we covered literally everything here. Great questions. Formation, banking stack, payment stack, process, taxes. We've talked about a lot. So here's what I'll do. I already dropped my email in the thread. Feel free to shoot me a note there. Otherwise, it's super simple to get started. Just our website, click get started. I've timed it. I'm a fast typer. I've gotten through the entire flow in a minute or two. Obviously, if it's your first time going through, it'll take less than 10 minutes. It's a very quick form. And from there, we can get started by launching your US business compliantly and, again, help you establish that US presence and expand your business globally. Sweet. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, feel free to reach out with any questions there and stay tuned. We have a lot more exciting stuff. I'll say stuff and news in the pipeline. And all of it obviously is going to be accessible to our doula customers, but also through events like this, which we do, because our goal at the end of the day is to share as much information as we can as possible. So thank you, Sahil. Thank you, Neil. Thank you to everyone else tuning in. I know I saw folks were watching in. Really excited to, again, hope they have the chance to work with you. And at the end of the day, if you don't work with us or if now's not the right time, that's okay. We're here whenever you are. But again, time is of the essence. I walked through that timeline. It takes 6 weeks on average. It could be faster from start until that payment processor is set up. In best case scenario, it could be faster. We've seen things happen in a week or two. So fingers crossed, obviously. But that's why if you are eager to get started, our team does filings every day. The state is closed on weekends, unfortunately. So it's critical if we get your filing in today, we can get the process started. But again, we want to make sure you are 100% confident and ready before launching. And then once you are, let's do it. We're here to help. And we are excited to watch your business grow. That's the fun for us is every day we get to partner with entrepreneurs working on novel technology. And I like to say it feels like at Doola, we get to have a peek into the future because we are seeing the new businesses people start before they're big, before they're public, before they've launched. And it's our pleasure to be able to work with y'all on the journey there specifically. So thank you all for tuning in. Hope to see you in the next event. And again, don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. You can live chat us online. I'm going to drop all these links in here. You can live chat us online. We have WhatsApp support as well, so you can WhatsApp us. You could also, if you prefer email, I know some folks do, just to keep personal business separate completely. You can email us at hello@doola.com as well. Okay, and with that, we will call it. That is a wrap, and I will see everyone in the next Ask Me Anything session. Okay, we have one more question. I'll take this one. It's a good question. And then we're going to call it. Does Doola help with accounting as well? When it comes to your tax filing, our accountants can take a look at your transactions in your books if it's done within your banking account and straight payment processor. So if everything's done properly within there, all of your records are there, very easy to look in and essentially create a financial statement. If you need full-on bookkeeping, Doola does not provide this, but we have partners who do. My advice or recommendation is that when you're starting, there's no requirement to have bookkeeping or accounting. The time when people typically do add this is after they have their bank account set up and they're starting to accept payments. Even then, though, I would say it definitely depends on the volume coming in. If you were getting several transactions, several thousands of dollars, and it's all done through your bank account and Stripe, which are connected, you might not need someone to do full-on bookkeeping paid. You could use a tool like Xero. And I'll write these down here. Or QuickBooks. So Doola, we'll send you a link. You can get a little discount on QuickBooks. So it's self-serve. I've used these tools. Very easy way to go in and categorize transactions. What I would recommend then is when your business really starts to grow and this becomes more of a headache, or you have more financial streams or more different separate bank accounts, etc., which we don't recommend. We actually recommend having one bank account to separate personal from business. Then you could pay a professional. But one thing we've learned is that in other countries, continents, it's actually required to have bookkeeping set up from the beginning. In the US, I say again, formation, banking stack, the taxes, you do not need to pay a professional to do that. You can if you'd like, but we recommend for cost savings and also time savings that you can start with a self-serve tool or even start by just keeping everything in your business bank account. Stay organized there. On the flip side, here's what we do not recommend. Do not make transactions on a personal card and a business card. Do not have 6 different payment sources. Try to stick with one. Because if you do those things, when it comes time to doing taxes, it's a nightmare. So again, that's one of the biggest reasons to forming a business is to separate personal from business, right? You use your personal card for your personal card, use your business card and your entity for everything related to the business. And that not only keeps liability protection, because now the business would be liable, which is the point of creating an LLC, but what it also does is it keeps things very clean so that when the tax filings come around, you have full separation for your records. Then you can easily see profit and loss. And then again, no one wants any issues with the IRS or state filings, etc. So when it comes to these tax filings, keeping things separate is extremely beneficial there. And if you're listening, by the way, if you made a mistake and you accidentally did a payment with your personal card, don't worry, you can fix these issues. But what I like to say is an ounce of prevention is a pound of the cure. So in this case, if you take your medicine or your vitamins, or in this case, if you properly separate personal from business, you won't need to take painkillers or have that emergency medical procedure in the future. That was maybe a terrible analogy, but hopefully it makes sense. Where again, get things set up from the beginning, separate personal from business, and then your life and the CPA's life and the ease and cost of tax filings will be much simpler in the future. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Neil, I'll keep an eye out for the email. Let's try to get you a sweater. And I hope everybody has a fantastic rest of your Monday. Good evening to the folks on the other side of the world. Good morning to the folks on the other side of the world who are seeing this. And excited to work with you at Doola.